open this. Kansatala, you can see that. I asked all of you. So, namaste to you all. Harihi Om, Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. I've been doing a few more verses of mantras of Purusha Suktam. And Tasmaat Yagnat Sarvahutah Samvratam Prishadajyam Pashugastagaschakre Vayavyan Aranyan Gramyaschaye Tasmaat Yagnat Sarvahutah Pruchasamani Jagnire Chandagam Jagnire Tasmaat Yajustasmadajayata Tasmadashva Ajayamta Eke Chobhayadadah Gavoha Jagnire Tasmaat Tasmaajjata Ajavayaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yastatmiya Baram Varaprata Vairagya Bhagyo Dadau Vedantamritasaramanta Shri Srinivasad Gurohu Sri Sailanmaya Kaustubhasya Tanayam Shreyo Nide Shri Nidehe Vande Sadhu Kataksakeli Nilayam Sri Krishna Saddeshikam Gita Sugita Kartavya Kivanyai Shastra Sangrahaihi Yasvayam Padmanabhasya Mukhapadmat Vinisrita Malanirmochanam Pumsam Jalasnanam Dine Dine Sakrit Gitam Vasisnanam Samsara Malanashanam Krishnam Kamalapatraksham Punyashravanakirtanam Vasudevam Jagadyonim Novinarayanam Harim. Okay, I wanted to revisit this shloka from chapter 12, verse 15, because I had messed up this. It was Yasmano Dvijate Loko, Lokano Dvijate Chayaha. So I had become like a Udhasina and Gatavyataha. I made a mistake here. Hari corrected it, but still I did not fix it. This is Yasmat na Udvijate Lokaha. It is Yasmano Dvijate Lokaha. Yasmat na Udvijate Lokaha. So I place here Lokat na Udvijate Chayaha. So he's not hurt or he's not agitated by the world. He doesn't agitate the world. Just that splitting the Padavibhaga was done wrong by me. So I also wanted to mention something about Aniketa we talked about in chapter 12. And a lot of people name their daughters Nikita. But Nikita really doesn't mean anything in Sanskrit, except it was a Russian leader, Nikita. But one of a grandfather told me his granddaughter is named Nikita. He said he told his daughter to name her Niketa. That's what she meant. Niketa means one who is very homely, always at home, homely kind of person. But his daughter, because Nikita is more popular, she thought it was Nikita. So then he was kind of upset that granddaughter goes by Nikita and not Niketa. Anyway, that person cannot get upset anymore. He passed away 2 years ago. So that is I've seen many people named Nikita. Okay, now get us back to where we had stopped. That is 13:10. Now I was talking a lot about what is the right knowledge. So here, Maicha Nanya Yogena Bhaktirav Vyabhicharini Vivikta Desha Sevittam Aratir Jana Samsati. Telling that kind of people have unwavering and single-minded devotion to the Supreme, seeking solitude and avoiding sordid crowds. Let's go to the new one. Adhyatma Gnana Nityatvam Tattva Gnanartha Darshanam Etagnana Miti Proktam Agnanam Edato Nyatha. So all the things he is saying that I think all the properties or the qualities he was describing in the previous verses kind of come to conclusion in this verse. So sincere persistence in knowing the Supreme, Adhyatma Gnana Nityatvam, always in the quest of truth, Tattva Gnanartha Darshanam. All our books are called Darshanam. So Tattva Gnanartha Darshanam, quest for the truth. And these numerous factors constitute true knowledge. Anything opposed to that is agnanam, it is ignorance. So like all the previous verses is saying many qualities, all that constitute true knowledge. Anything opposed to that is agnanam or ignorance. So he doesn't have to tell what is ignorance. Whatever is not that, what he told is ignorance. Adhyatma-gnana nityatvam
अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वं
tattva-gnanartha-darshanam
तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम्
एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम्
एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम्
अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा.
अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा.
Now we say, Deyam ettat pravakshami yajnatva amritamashnute anadi matparam brahma nasattannasa duchyate. Now he is talking about what is ought to be known, continues. Once you know this, you will be immortal. Amrita mashnute. Yajnatva amrita mashnute. Now he is talking about the Kshetrajna, actually the Brahman. It is the supreme Brahman, Anadi Matparam Brahma. It is Nasatanna Saduchyate. It has no beginning. It is without beginning. It is spoken as neither real nor unreal. It is Nasatta, it is not Na Sat, Tat, Na Asat. Na Sat Tat, Na Asat iti Uchyate. It is spoken as neither real nor unreal, like neti kind of concept. So next I shall explain to you about what ought to be known. Once you know it, you will be immortal. It is the supreme Brahman that is without beginning. Anadi Nidanam. Anadi Matparam, not Anadi Matparam Brahma, the supreme Brahma without beginning. It is spoken as neither real nor unreal. Gneyam yattat pravakshyami
ज्ञेयं यत्तत् प्रवक्ष्यामि
yatgnatva amritamashnute
यत् ज्ञात्वा अमृतमश्नुते
anadimat param brahma
अनादिमत्परं ब्रह्म
nasattanna saduchyate.
न सत्तन्नासदुच्यते.
So now continues talking, explaining the Brahman. Sarvata Panipadam tat sarvatokshishiro mukham sarvata shrutimaloke sarvam avritya tishtati. It's a little bit like the Purusha Suktam thing. So with heads, hands, legs, eyes, ears, and mouth everywhere. And Brahman abides in the universe, encompassing everything. Sarvata Shrutimaloke, Sarvam Avruptya Tishtati. There, encompassing everything. So with heads and every head, every leg, every eye, everything you see, every ear you see is all belongs, mouth, all belongs to Brahman. With heads, hands, legs, eyes, ears, and mouth everywhere, Brahman abides in the universe, encompassing everything. Like in our concept is Sarvam Kalu Idam Brahma. So Sarvata Panipadam Tat
सर्वतः पाणिपादं तत्
Sarvatokshishiro Mukham
सर्वतोक्षिशिरोमुखं
Sarvata Shrutimaloke
सर्वतः श्रुतिमल्लोके
Sarvamavritya Tishtati.
सर्वमावृत्य तिष्ठति.
Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarva brichaiva nirgunam gunabhoktrucha. It says it is free from sarvendriya gunabhasam. It is free from influence of the senses, uh, and yes, it is fully aware. It is fully aware of all sensation. It is not influenced by that. It's free from influence of the senses, yet it is fully aware of all sensation. Sarvendriya vivarjitam, but still it knows all what is happening. It supports everything, but remains unattached. It is beyond gunas and yet enjoys them all. Nirgunam is nirguna, but guna bhoktri also. So everything is opposite. So it is free from the influence of the senses and yet is fully aware of all sensations. It supports everything but remains unattached. It is beyond the gunas and yet enjoys them all, almost like a witness, witnessing everything. Sarvendriya gunabhasam
सर्वेन्द्रियगुणाभासं
sarvendriya vivarjitam
सर्वेन्द्रियविवर्जितम्
asaktam sarva brichaiva
असक्तं सर्वभृच्चैव
nirgunam gunabhoktrucha.
निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च.
This actually should be the quality of news reporters. They should just tell, not any interpolating or not being partial. Just explain what is there. So it should be the quality of news reporters. That way will be better informed instead of getting brainwashed or anything like that. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charameva cha Shuklatvatada vigneyam durastam chantike chatat. Here it is outside, yet within all beings. It's outside, it's also inside. It is motionless, yet moving, yet always moving. Sthanu, one of the adjectives given for this sthanu, which is not moving. See, acharam, charamevacha, not moving as well as moving. It's far away, yet nearby. It is too subtle to grasp. Sukshmatvat, it is very sukshma, it is subtle to grasp. It's far away as well as near. It is durastam as well as very close by. Bahirantascha bhutanam
बहिरन्तश्च भूतानाम्
acharam charamevacha
अचरं चरमेव च.
sukshmatvat tada vigneyam
सूक्ष्मत्वात् तदविज्ञेयम्
durastam chantike chatate.
दूरस्थं चान्तिके च तत्.
Like the Upanishads say, right? Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. If the words fail to describe, it cannot be reached by mind also. Likewise, in chapter 2, where Ascharyavat pashyati kastidenan, Ascharyavat varati tataiva chanyaha, Ascharyavatchaina manyashtanoti, Srutvapyenam veda nachaiva kaschiti. That's why everything is very difficult to grasp it. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktaviva cha sthitam bhuta vartrita tajneyam krasishna pravavishnu cha. So it is undivided whole, yet it appears divided among beings. Like one became everything. That is the basically Hindu concept of creation. Tasmaat viradha jayata. From one became the varieties. All the varieties came forth from that. It is basically expansion and transformation of a supreme being. Everything we see is expansion. Variety came from it. That's why. So avibhaktam cha bhutesh. It's undivided whole, yet it appears divided among beings. It supports all the creatures, but consuming them all as well as creating them. Consuming them as well as creating them. As we see the dissolution and creation, everything going on. So it is the undivided whole, yet it appears divided among beings. It supports all the creatures, consuming them as well as creating them. Avibhaktancha bhuteshu
अविभक्तं च भूतेषु
विभक्तमिव च स्थितम्
विभक्तमिव च स्थितं
भूतभर्तृ च ज्ञेयम्
भूतभर्तृ च तज्ज्ञेयं
ग्रसिष्णुर्प्रभविष्णु च
ग्रसिष्णुप्रभविष्णु च
ज्योतिषामपि तज्ज्योतिः तमसः परमुच्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं ज्ञानगम्यं हृदि सर्वस्य विष्ठितम्. So it is the knowledge, it is the knowable subject. Jnanam, gneyam, knowable. Then also it is the purpose of knowledge, jnanagamyam. It is seated in the heart of all beings. Hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. Is seated in the heart of all beings. It is the light of light. Jyotisham api jyotish. Jyotihi. Jyotisam api jyotihi is light of light. Beyond all. Tamasa paramuchyate. Beyond all darkness. So it is the knowledge, it is the knowable subject, it is the purpose of knowledge, it is seated in the heart of all beings. It is the light of lights beyond all darkness. It says it is seated in the heart of all beings. Actually, it is pervading even the non-beings. That's what Ishavasya Upanishad says. Ishavasyam vidam sarvam etkincha jagatyam jagat. But non-beings don't have heart, but it's still pervading in that. Jyotishamapi tajyotihi
ज्योतिषामपि तज्ज्योतिः
tamasa paramuchyate
तमसः परमुच्यते
gnanam gneyam gnanagamyam
ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं ज्ञानगम्यं
hridi sarvasya vishtitam.
हृदि सर्वस्य विष्ठितम्.
Some more properties of that. Okay, this is इति क्षेत्रं तथा ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं चोक्तं समासतः मद्भक्त एतद्विज्ञाय मद्भावायोपपद्यते. So he talked all about this, right? He briefly told you about kshetra and also about knowledge and its purpose, the whole fulsome description of the kshetra. Having learned this, my devotee attains my state of being. So iti kshetram tata gnanam, that is the kshetra, also the knowledge. And what is the purpose of Gneyam? What is the purpose of that? Cha uktam. Gneyam cha uktam samasataha. Briefly, he says. Having known that, etad vignaya madbhaktaha, my devotee, attains my state. Madbhava upapadya. Madbhava etad, madbhaktaha etad vignaya madbhavaya upapadyate. Reaches my state of being. Once you to know is to reach that state. Iti kshetram tatha gnanam
इति क्षेत्रं तथा ज्ञानं
ज्ञेयं चोक्तं समासतः
ज्ञेयं चोक्तं समासतः
मद्भक्तदेतद्विज्ञाय
मद्भक्त एतद्विज्ञाय
मद्भावायोपपद्यते.
मद्भावायोपपद्यते.
प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव विद्यनादि उभावपि विकारांश्च गुणांश्चैव विद्धि प्रकृतिसम्भवान्. Now we say that both Prakriti, the nature, Purusha, the supreme, Prakriti, Purusha, interaction is all the creation, you see. Prakriti and Purusha, both of them are anadi, they are without beginning. Prakriti and Purusha both are without beginning. Change arises from Prakriti and so do the gunas. All the changes are for the Prakriti and all the gunas associated with that. That comes from the Prakriti. So Prakriti and Purusha are both without beginning. Change, so they are always there, anadi, without beginning, upavapi. Change arises from Prakriti and so do the gunas. So everything in the universe is constantly undergoing change because everything arises from Prakriti. Whatever we see is expression of expansion of Prakriti, which is always changing, whereas the Purusha, the underlying spirit, is beyond change. So everything we see, we don't see the Purusha, everything we see changes. Nobody has seen the Purusha. So that one is not changing. That's exactly what the Isha Upanishad also say. Lord permeates everything, but Lord himself is without changing. So Prakritim Purusham Chaiva
प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव
Vidyanadi Ubhavapi
विध्यनादि उभावपि
Vikaranshcha Gunanshchaiva
विकारांश्च गुणांश्चैव
Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan.
विद्धि प्रकृतिसम्भवान्.
In fact, even the name Jagat we say in Sanskrit for the universe, Jagat is always in the process of moving. It's jogging, slowly moving. Everything is in flux. Like Mark Twain says, he was always interested in Mississippi River. He said there is so much to know about this river, and you have to learn it all over every day. Things are changing. So we cannot say, I have seen this, because every day is changing. कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे हेतु प्रकृतिरुच्यते पुरुषः सुखदुःखानां भोक्तृत्वे हेतुरुच्यते. So Prakriti is the material basis of the body and associated activities. Purusha is the cause of the experience of pleasure and pain. As long as Purusha is still in us, we feel all that, the Chaitanya, that is the Bhutana must be Chaitana. As long as you have consciousness, we feel everything, right? So all the Prakriti is the material cause basis of the body and all the associated activities. Purusha is the cause of the experience of pleasure and pain. So, Prakriti is the source of all the five elements, the body, including the senses, mind, ego, intellect. Purusha is the cause of one's feeling of being alive and the associated experiences of pleasure and pain. So it's interesting, in chapter 2, we heard that the soul is cannot be split, cannot be blown away, cannot be burned, cannot be withered away, nothing, right? Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha. It can be drowned, achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo shoshayevacha. Nityaha sarvagataha stanu achaloyam sanatanaha. That one thing he did not say is, he did not say soul cannot be bound. Soul can get attached. That is the reason for all the sukha dukkha's we feel. That is the only thing that impact the soul is bondage. Nothing else can happen to it. Karya karana kartrutve
कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे
hetuh prakatiruchyate
हेतुः प्रकृतिरुच्यते.
purushas sukha dukkhanam
पुरुषः सुखदुःखानां
भोक्तृत्वे हेतुरुच्यते.
भोक्तृत्वे हेतुरुच्यते.
पुरुष प्रकृतिस्थो हि भुङ्क्ते प्रकृतिजान् गुणान् कारणं गुणसङ्गोऽस्य सदसद्यो निजन्मसु. So same theme is continued here. So when associated with Prakriti, when Purusha is associated with Prakriti, Purusha experiences the gunas that arise from Prakriti. Attachment to the gunas is the cause of one's rebirth, for better or for worse. But the same theme continued. This is one part. Soul is not liberated. So it can get afflicted because of attachment. It can be bound. So any attachment, good or bad, leads to bondage, rebirth. The type of experience to which one is most attached in this life determines the type of person one is going to be in the next life. That is our concept of rebirth. What we did today impacts what happens to us in the next life. We can see this happening in this life itself. What we did today impact tomorrow, right? You studied chemistry, you will become a chemist. In company also, they are watching you very carefully. One thing Americans do a lot is they are very good observers. So they see how you behave, what you are doing. Depending on that, your progression will happen. What the next project they will give you, like that. So it is what we do today determines what happens tomorrow. Purusha prakrtisto hi
पुरुषः प्रकृतिस्थो हि
bhungte prakrtijan gunan
भुङ्क्ते प्रकृतिजान् गुणान्
karanam gunasangosya
कारणं गुणसङ्गोऽस्य
tadasadhyo nijanmasu.
सदसद्यो निजन्मसु.
So this theme is used a lot in many Bollywood movies or movies industry in India, right? Like how how they come back, someone they loved in the previous life, they could not fulfill their love, so they come back and now they again fall in love. They are in different situations, but still they come back and fall in love. This happens in the movies. I forget that Mukha Manaslu, they made a Hindi movie, Milan or something like that. That it happens. In fact, Isha Sadguru says that yes, he remembers his past 4 or 5 different lives, he says. And some of the people whom he had met in that life, actually one of the girls, a tribal girl in Madhya Pradesh, she was he had eloped or married to her, but of course the tribes did not like the intercaste marriage and intertribal marriage. So they basically found them, caught them, and basically tied him to a tree and make a poisonous snake to bite him, and that's how his life ended. He says that in this life, some people just got attracted to him, some ladies. One of them he married, right? That's why he says that these are all people whom he knew in the previous lives. So these are all unfulfilled. So I have so many unfulfilled things. I am guaranteed to come many times. That is what this is telling. We'll do one more time. Purusha prakritisto hi
पुरुषः प्रकृतिस्थो हि
bhungte prakritijan gunan
भुङ्क्ते प्रकृतिजान् गुणान्
karanam gunasangosya
कारणं गुणसङ्गोऽस्य
tadasadhyo nijanmasu.
सदसद्यो निजन्मसु.
कृपद्रष्टानुमन्ता च भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः परमात्मेति चाप्युक्तो देहेऽस्मिन् पुरुषः परः. He says the indwelling Purusha is said to be the witness, the approver, the supporter, the enjoyer, the supreme Lord and the supreme self. It is talking about the indwelling Purusha. Is the upadrashtanumanta cha
उपद्रष्टानुमन्ता च
bharta bhokta maheshwarah
भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः
paramatmeti chapyukto
परमात्मेति चाप्युक्तो
dehesmin purusha parah.
देहेऽस्मिन् पुरुषः परः.
य एवं वेत्ति पुरुषं प्रकृतिं च गुणैः सह सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि न स भूयोऽभिजायते. The one who understands the Purusha like this, in the interaction of Purusha, Prakriti, and the Gunas, Prakritim, Guna, Purusha, all these things together, although engaged in worldly activities, Sarvatha Vartamanopi, he will not be born again. It's a realization. It's a realized person who understands the relation between the body or the Prakriti, of course, the indwelling Purusha, and all the qualities, gunas that impact the Prakriti, and person who understands the relation, such a person is not born again. Ya evam vetti purusham
य एवं वेत्ति पुरुषं
prakritin cha gunais saha
प्रकृतिं च गुणैः सह
sarvatha vartamanopi
सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि
न स भूयोऽभिजायते.
न स भूयोऽभिजायते.
Just like once we figured out everything, like a good teacher doesn't ask person, a student, he thinks knows everything, he never asks question to that person. Um, Only asks for people who are still halfway or not understood. It's interesting. I don't know how true this is, but I was told when I was doing a PhD in IISc Bangalore, there was one senior. Uh, he was highly regarded senior, Muralidhar. He was 2, 3, or 4 years senior to me. I was told that he was so highly regarded. We usually have, before we submit our thesis, we have to have another pre-viva or something like that. For us in pre-viva, they will ask all questions, this and that and that. But for Muralidhar, the board asked only one question. Which came first, hen or the egg? Chick or the egg? Seed or the tree? So they just asked, this is nothing to do with this PhD thesis or anything like that. He's such a highly valued student. So like that, for him, he doesn't have to remember, answer questions of what his thesis was about or anything like that. Yeah. य एवं वेत्ति पुरुषं
य एवं वेत्ति पुरुषं
प्रकृतिं च गुणैः सह
प्रकृतिं च गुणैः सह
सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि
सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि
न स भूयोऽभिजायते.
न स भूयोऽभिजायते.
Another place also something comes. Sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mai vartate. I like this line very much. Sarvata vartamano. ज्ञानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचिदात्मानमात्मना अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे. So people realize this in different ways. By dhyana, some people perceive Atma through meditation, chapter 6. Some realize it through wisdom, like the chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, and others through selfless action, Karma Yoga. So different ways. Different people have different aptitudes for what they prefer, how they learn something. So it is through dhyana. Some people perceive the Atman through meditations. Some realize through wisdom, and some others through selfless action. All these are fine in our system. Dhyanenatmani pashyanti
ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति
kechidatmanamatmana
केचिद् आत्मानमात्मना
अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन
अन्ये साङ्ख्येन योगेन
कर्मयोगेन चापरे.
कर्मयोगेन चापरे.
Some other people. अन्ये त्वेवमजानन्तः श्रुत्वान्येभ्य उपासते तेऽपि चातितरन्त्येव मृत्युं श्रुतिपरायणाः. Some other people who don't know this path pursue the Atman by hearing from others. श्रुत्वा अन्येभ्य उपासते. Anyebhyah Shruttva Anyebhyah Upasate. By hearing, those who don't know this path, by hearing from others, they too transcend death by faithfully following what they have heard from others. Tepi chati tarantyeva prutyam srutiparayanaha. They transcend that even learning by hearing from other people. They are asking, and through that they are learning. Lot of things we learn is by asking, by Googling, right? So that's why asking, we learn a lot of things. So they also transcend this. But when you ask, you should not be an ask hole. So you should follow it. Otherwise, it's no use. You are wasting your time and wasting the time of people whom you asked. Anye tveva majanantaha
अन्ये त्वेवमजानन्तः
श्रुत्वान्येभ्य उपासते
श्रुत्वान्येभ्य उपासते
शेऽपि चाचितरन्त्येव
तेऽपि चातितरन्त्येव
मृत्युं श्रुतिपरायणाः
मृत्युं श्रुतिपरायणाः
यावत् सञ्जायते किञ्चित् सत्त्वं स्थावरजङ्गमं क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञसंयोगात् तद्विद्धि भरतर्षभा. So everything, whatever is see exists, yavat sanjayate kinchiti, anything that exists, which is fixed or moving, stavara or jangama, sattvam stavara or jangama, moving or unmoving, is born as a result of interaction between kshetra and kshetragna, prakriti and purusha. Learn that much, know that much, Arjuna, he says. So every being that exists, fixed or moving, is born as a result of the interaction between kshetra and the kshetragna. Know that much, Arjuna. Yavat sanjayate kinchit
यावत् सञ्जायते किञ्चित्
sattvam sthavara jangamam
सत्त्वं स्थावरजङ्गमं
kshetra kshetragna sanyogat
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञसंयोगात्
tadvidhi bhararषभा.
तद्विद्धि भरतर्षभा
समं सर्वेषु भूतेषु तिष्ठन्तं परमेश्वरं विनश्यत्स्य विनश्यन्तं यः पश्यति स पश्यति. So this the supreme is in everyone. Parameshwaram is tishtantam, means everything. Samam in equally existing in everyone. There's nothing more in one and less in another. Equally established in everyone, dwelling in every. He true supreme is living in all beings, and he is undying without even the everything his body is dying, but is undying within the dying. One who sees that, such person truly sees. Yah pashyati sapashyati. One who sees this supreme is dwelling equally in everyone, and it is not perished, whereas the body is perished. It's living in the body is getting perished, but he is not perished. Undying within the dying. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu
समं सर्वेषु भूतेषु
tishtantam parameshwaram
तिष्ठन्तं परमेश्वरं
vinashyasya vinashyantam
विनश्यत्स्य विनश्यन्तं
yah pashyati sapashyati.
यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
Here the vibhaga is vinashyatsu avinashyatam. Vinashyatsu avinashyantam. So in the dying, not dying. So undying within the dying. Samam pashyanti sarvatra samavasthitamishwaram nahi sanyasyatmanatmanam tato yati parangatim. Same thing continually. He does not degrade himself, for he sees the same Lord established everywhere. He attains the supreme state. When we realize that our body is a temple of in which the Lord dwells, how can you degrade yourself or you can degrade others? Such a person who realizes that does not degrade himself because he sees the same Lord established everywhere. Through that, he attains the supreme state. He recognizes the same supreme spirit in himself as well as in others. Samam pashyanti sarvatra
समं पश्यन्ति सर्वत्र
samavasthitabhishwaram
समवस्थितमीश्वरं
nahi sanyastyatmanatmanam
न हि न हि सन्न्यस्
nahi sanyastyatmanatmanam.
न हि सन्न्यस्त्यनात्मनात्मानं
So that is na hi nasti atmana atmanam. It's a kind of compound word. Nahi
न हि नस्ति
nasti atmana atmanam. Nahi nasti atmana atmanam. Nahi nasti atmana atmanam.
न हि
Tongue has to. Yeah,
नस्त्यात्मनात्मानं.
very good, very good. That is why they say that when somebody you're interacting with, If you are bad at them, or if unhappy with them or anything, don't insult them. Just insult the act. I didn't like you did that. Don't say I hate you. You say that what you did, that I did not like. प्रकृत्यैव च कर्माणि क्रियमाणानि सर्वशः यः पश्यति तथात्मानम् अकर्तारं स पश्यति. Such a person, he truly sees, who sees all the actions are performed by the Prakriti alone, and Purusha is a mere witness. So don't blame the indwelling God or anything for anything bad happens or good happens. It is the Prakriti making us to act. He truly sees, who sees that all actions are performed by Prakriti, material nature alone. And Purusha is a mere witness. Mere witness, maybe Purusha getting attached and getting entangled. Prakrityaiva cha karmani
प्रकृत्यैव च कर्माणि
kriyamaणानि sarvashah
क्रियमाणानि सर्वशः
yah pashyati tathatmanam
यः पश्यति तथात्मानम्
akartaram sapashyati.
अकर्तारं स पश्यति.
So this doesn't mean that we can just go and do anything we want. There are some people have done that. God asked me to go and go do this, do that, like that. That's not true. You might have heard of some few characters in news that has happened. They go and kill and do all sorts of bad things. God asked me to do that, like that. यदा भूतपृथग्भावम् एकस्थमनुपश्यति तत एव च विस्तारं ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा. So when one observes the diversity of existence as having a common source, underlying common source in the Supreme, and all manifestations arising from that alone, then he becomes one with the Brahman. Everything is expression, whatever we see, the variety in the world. When one observes the diversity of existence, it is having a common source. And that source is the Supreme. And all manifestations arise from that alone. Then he becomes one with the Brahman, recognizing the Brahman in everything. Brahman, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Like that. Yada Bhuta Prithagbhavam
यदा भूतपृथग्भावम्
Ekasthavanupashyati
एकस्थमनुपश्यति
Tata eva cha Vistaram
तत एव च विस्तारं
Brahma Sampadyate Tada.
ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा.
Like if you have 8 children, 6 children, 3 children, each one will be really different. They all came from us. Like that. That is like that. Here also the whole world is like that. Came from one source. अनादित्वान् निर्गुणत्वात् परमात्मायम् अव्ययः शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिप्यते. The Supreme is imperishable because without beginning, anadi, without attribute, nirguna, but it is imperishable and beyond attributes. It's nirguna. Though it resides in the body, it does not act, it is not tainted. So this is the unchanging Supreme dwelling in every one of us. So that is without attributes and without beginning and imperishable. It is in the body, it does not act, it is not tainted. Anaditvan nirgunatvat
अनादित्वान् निर्गुणत्वात्
paramatmayam avyayah
परमात्मायमव्ययः
sharirasthopi kaunteya
शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय
nakaroti nalipyate.
न करोति न लिप्यते.
Even though it is associated in the body, sharirastaha api, but still it is not tainted by it. Give some analogy here. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akashan lopalipyate sarvatravastito dehe tathatmanopalipyate. Gives some analogy here. The self dwelling in the body is not tainted, just as the all-pervading space remains pure because of its subtlety. Space is the unlimited expanse, right? Space is that is within and outside everything. Though all events occur in the space, nothing happens to it because it is far too subtle and ethereal. That is the fifth we say, right? In the Panchabhutas, ether is the space is the one of the bhutas. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat
यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्याद्
akasham nopalipyate
आकाशं नोपलिप्यते
sarvatravastito dehe
सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे
tathatmanopalipyate.
तथात्मानोपलिप्यते.
Like Yudhishthira was asked the Daksha Prastha, what is space? He just said like this is space. He said, whatever between this is space. Like that. This is just a little bit stretching. I don't think we understood space like that. If you look at that, we are made up of atoms and then molecules, but every atom is 99.99999% nothing. The particles are very small. Contribution of particles in an atom is very tiny. Most of it is empty, nothing. And without that, nothing is giving shape and functionality to everything. If you took away that nothing from us, our size will be less than a mustard and less useful than a mustard. You can think of that like a space. Nothing affects it, but it is impacting everything. So, यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नं लोकमिमं रविः क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत. So just as the single sun, right? One sun is illuminating the whole world, our solar system. Whole world means solar system. Just as the single sun illuminates the whole world, so also the kshetrajna illuminates all the kshetras, every kshetra. Kshetrajna, this is Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, this chapter. So Kshetrajna, one Kshetrajna illuminates all the kshetras. Yatha prakashayetyekah
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः
kritsnam lokamimam ravihi
कृत्स्नं लोकमिमं रविः
kshetram kshetri tatha kritsnam
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं
prakashayati bharata.
प्रकाशयति भारत.
Actually, solar worship a sun because we saw sun illuminating the whole universe, whole world. The worship of sun is the foremost worship in almost every culture, right? Even whole of our Sandhya Vandanam is worship of sun, really. Most of it is. Afterwards, he says Surya Narayana, but if you look at all the Sandhya Vandana mantras, the morning we are calling him Mitra, then Surya, then he goes into the water, we call him Varuna. So it is, and all the argya we give for the sun. So the mantra I use is the Savitra Gayatri mantra. So it is just like the sun illuminates. It's a good example for us to something we can see. क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरं ज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्. So this is those with spiritual insight, though viduhu, recognize the difference between the kshetra and kshetrajna. They know all beings are liberated from the bondage of prakriti. They reach the supreme. Basically realizing the connection between the kshetra and the kshetrajna. The wise see a distinction between the lower, body is the lower, or the kshetra, His Prakriti is lower, and higher is Kshetragna. That is the Purusha. Those are the two levels of reality, Kshetra and Kshetragna. Krishna actually in this chapter starts with true knowledge is to know both Kshetra and Kshetragna. He concludes by pointing out the difference between the two. It is important for us to learn in total and then distinguish the importance from the trivial. There is no shortcut to true knowledge. So we should know both trivial as well as the important. Kshetra kshetragnayorevam
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम्
antarang gnanachakshusha
अन्तरं ज्ञानचक्षुषा
bhuta prakriti mokshancha
भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च
ye viduryanti te param.
ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्.
So this is done as a epilogue for this. Om Tat Saditi
ॐ तत्सदिति
Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu
श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु
Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre
ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे
Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade
श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे
Kshetra Kshetragna Vibhaga Yogo Nama
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञविभागयोगो नाम
Trayodashodhyayaha.
त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः.
So about 9-10 minutes left. Hopefully Hari is there to show some highlights, some cherry on the top. Maybe he's not there today. Yeah. Atul has a question. Yeah. Somebody has to unmute Atul.
Yeah, now you can hear me. I was not able to
Hari,
unmute.
okay. Hari. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Atul has a question, so let's go to that.
Yeah, hi Hariji. Sir, it's nice to know that you are from ISC. I am also from ISC. I did my engineering. Namaskara. Question I have the pronunciation of Gyan and Nyan. I'm from North India. We call it Gyan all the time. Gyan, Gyan, every time. And you call it Nyan. So can you explain me, am I pronouncing wrongly? I'm finding it very hard to start pronouncing as Nyan instead of Gyan.
Yeah, it is Gnan, right?
So one general principle is that in North India, they tend to cut the last syllable into half. In South, especially in Kannada and Tamil, they tend to drag the last syllable a little more than required. So hraswa a and dirgha a, there's a slight difference. But what happens is in the north, they generally, for example, when we have a word like bhima, it is bhima, whereas they will make it bhim and almost like a cut the last letter with like a halad. So the right pronunciation is Bhima Krishna. Whereas in the south, what they do sometimes they do Bhima Krishna, which also is not correct. So it is Bhima Krishna. So similarly for Jnana, Jnana, Dhyana, that is the right pronunciation as far as I know it. And Jna is basically a mixture of Ja and Nya. So half Ja and Nya. So that comes together. It's one of the very popular Sanyukta Aksharas like Ksha and Shra and all these things. So it basically is Nya, Nyana, Jnana, Dhyana. So that would be the right pronunciation. But some people say they have the g sound, gyan, like they say in Hindi,
Gyan,
they
they
say
say
gyan.
Gyan. Yeah.
I have a gyan
Uh,
Yeah.
that is what I
like gyan,
Yeah.
vigyan.
Jnanavapi mosque, like that.
Yeah,
Gyan.
Gyanavapi, yeah, right. So the ga and ya, that's a
But
totally different sound when you use ga and ya as opposed to using ja and nga. So jnana is the usual thing, but it's okay because as long as people understand it, I think it is fine. But technically, the right pronunciation would be like nya, nya. So
that's the
jnana,
way I write it, right? You're
jnana.
writing ja, ja and na.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
Even
pronounce
when they write,
jnana. Is it right, sir?
yeah.
Jnana.
No, some people even write as Yagna or Gyan in English
Yeah, when
also
you
they will
write
write
in
Gyan.
Romanagri, but when you write in Devanagari, we're always using ja,
Yeah,
right?
they
Kannada
will
also
agree.
we
They
do
use
ja. In Romanagri, GYAN also people write.
yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yagna, same thing. Yagna also, right? Yagna pronounced very similar. Yagna.
No, in fact, when we write Jnana in Tamil, we will just use Nga, not even Ja. It's just the Cha, Cha, Ja, Ja, Nga is there. So Nga, and they will put a and so Jnana when we write in Tamil. So every language will have certain variations of the original Sanskrit. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, when we are dealing with the original Sanskrit, it helps to pronounce it traditionally. But even there, sometime there is a lot of debate because usually, like I think in one of the earlier classes, Dr. Sri Krishna mentioned there are a couple of exceptions where we don't pronounce the way we write. Otherwise, 99.9% the way we write it in Devanagari will be exactly the same way as pronouncing it.
Yeah.
So when it is a word like Prahlada or Brahman or Vanhi, so we will write Vahni, but we won't say Vahni. We will say Vanhi or Brahma. We will not say Brahma. Like Joseph Campbell will say Brahma, but we will not. We will say Brahma. That's the usual thing. So there are some exceptions like that, but usually we pronounce the way we write.
Thank you very much.
Hello, sir. In 13, sorry, this is Pooja. 13, 13 chapter, 21st shlok, you mentioned that in the next life, you will become what you attract in this life. Can you elaborate on that?
This one, 21st, right? Is it?
13th chapter, 21st
Yeah.
shloka.
Sadasad yoni janmasu.
Yeah. So what's the question?
Can you elaborate on when you say that you will, so whatever you attract in this life, the next life you will become?
Yeah. That is, that came earlier also, right? Whatever we are, whatever we were preoccupied with, yayam vapi smaran bhavan tyajatyante kalevaram tantame vaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavita. So the kind of life we led, what we are preoccupied with, that impacts our next life. That is the Hindu belief. So we want to be better. We don't want to do something which it should not be done, because that will impact our next life. That's why I was giving an example. This happens, what we do today impacts what we do tomorrow. If I book the ticket for New York today to fly tomorrow, I will fly tomorrow. So everything what we do impact the next step. So that is extended to next life also in our concept of Punarjanma.
And also, for example, sometime the way this based on a belief, but even when we see in a practical context, there's a project going on, and suddenly for whatever reason somebody quit the job, but you have to find a replacement, and you have to have some other arrangement made. So a person, for example, like similarly, when if somebody goes into a coma and they are working on some project, when they come out of coma, I have something pending, so let me get back to finishing that. So when they are back to the thing, almost like, oh, let me get back. Or when you go on a holiday, you come back to your desk, you continue where you took off. Whereas if you took retirement and then went on a holiday, when you come back, there is no desk, so you don't have to worry. So, like, similarly, when it comes to birth, also, when if you're done whatever you want to do, then you don't have to get back to anything. You're fine. But if you are cut off midway with also some desires, the idea is that you will be born again. And the reason for this belief, I say belief because we don't know. It could be true, it could be untrue, but it is very useful, this belief, because it gives a lot of solace in present life, that we have limited time, we have unlimited desires, so we can only pursue one line of work, or one line of something. So we cannot take two different roads. We can only choose. When we come at the intersection, we have to take a left or a right. We have to take a choice. Of course, if we had gone the other way, there would have been different experience, but we had to take some decision. So we took a left. So if people who are always craving and thinking about what would have happened if I had taken a right, for them there is this kind of solace that, well, maybe next life I will have the chance to do that also.
Understood. Thank you.
So I had one question and one comment. The comment is that, here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Purusha is the Chaitanya, and Prakriti is the Kshetra, right? So, whereas in, when we consider God, Devi worship, where Devi Bhagavata and other things, there they say, Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Chaitaneti Abhidiyate. Normally we consider that goddess is Prakriti, whereas in that she is saying that she is the they say that goddess is the Chaitanya. So that was just a contradictory or a contrast, actually. Normally it's the other way, right? So I just that thought came to my mind.
Usually, in our tradition, whatever the deity they are referring to, they will mention that it's the best deity. Like when we have some chief guest. When we have some chief guest for a school or college function, they say, oh, he is the most suited person to address all of you. He or she is the best person and all that. That year, that person should be given importance, right? So similarly, when it's about Devi, they say Devi is the most important. All other deities are manifestation of Devi. Then it's some Shiva Purana, Mahadeva is the greatest. All others are some Paricharaka. If you see Vishnu Puranam or something, they make Vishnu as the most important. Some Ganesha is the most important. So it should not be. I mean, in our tradition, we believe, like he is saying, that Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman, and Brahman is all pervasive, and it takes different forms and shapes. So if you have the book is about Devi and you don't give enough importance, then then it doesn't make sense. So you will say that Shakti is the most important. Everything is subordinate to that. So it is true to that extent. It's not, they are not saying it in a lighter way. It is true to that extent. If you are a Devi Upasaka, if you are some Sri Vidya Upasaka, most important for you is that Devi. Other things are all secondary. Whereas if you are a Hanuman Upasaka, then Hanuman is most important for you. Other deities are secondary. So it's totally fine, I think.
Yeah, that's very true. Whatever you consider, Shaktas for Shakti, Vaishnavas, Vishnu, Smartas are more diverse, they have more choice. Nirguna Brahman, for them, no form, right? People who like Mysore Pak, the most, they say that is the best dessert, right? Like that, whatever that freedom is there. In fact, it's even said that if you worship Ganesha just for getting good grade in exam, then he is not Brahman. But if you look at Ganesha as the supreme, like in Ganesha Atharvanopanishad, there Ganesha is everything, right? Like that. But if you are just worshipping for a limited thing, then that is only that limited function. Kankshanta karmanan siddhim comes there, yajanta iha devataha. Then Ganesha comes to that level. But if you look at Ganesha himself as the Brahman, then Ganesha will be telling that. Like that.
And another question is like, he says that for a karma yogi, that is the way to liberation. For another person, dhyana maybe, uh, and for another person, jnana, and so on. Right? What if it's like a mixture of all those things? Uh, does Krishna say that no, you have to choose one path, or does he say that it's okay to have all these paths because we may be doing all these together, right?
One of them will be dominant. I don't think anybody is 100% karma yogi or 100% non-yogi. Non-yogi also has to make chapati and eat. So nobody is 100%. Even they say that even to have bhakti, actually Rajgopalacharya introduction for Vajagovindam, he says culmination of all those things is bhakti, gnana and karma. Culmination is bhakti, he says. So that's also there. There's definitely what is in a higher amount, like Bisibelebath also rice and dal, pongal, sweet pongal also rice and dal, but one is sweet, another is when pongal, like that, depending on what the emphasis. I think all are there. There is
Yeah,
nobody
like
is
even for
100%.
example, like
Yeah.
if you take, learning music or dance or something, right? In the initial stage, it's just bhakti or tea. You have complete belief in your guru. Whatever he or she is teaching you, you're just following blindly. You have no idea, right? So you need bhakti. Without that, you will not even practice one line of music or one movement in dance. Then after a point of time, you do a lot of karma, right? Like repeated practice again and again and again till you get perfect, pitching and so on. Then when you want to do a manodharma, sangeeta, some kalpana swaram, you have to have jnana. You have to have your intelligence and you have to apply this kind of uh, knowledge and wisdom and so on. So even in like say a learning music or dance or something, we have all the elements. Only thing is there will be some, like you said, some predominant note which will be remembered for that. But like just like some people, they are very good at say A and B, but we are more remembered for A than like Einstein is not remembered for playing violin. Maybe he was very good in violin, I don't know, but he is remembered for something else. So like that, there'll be a mixture of all the different things.
In fact, even our Vedas itself is assembled like that. The Samhita part is lot of hard work, right? Lot of then the Brahmana is all the practice, and Aranyaka is halfway between knowledge and action. Then the Upanishad, it mature into like that. You're kind of going from uh, now we have replaced all the uh, Samhita and Brahmana to our other kind of education, 15 years of whatever we do. So what is most relevant for us today is actually the concluding part of the Vedas, Vedanta, right? We are not doing any Somayagna and may go and have a liquor or a cocktail, but no Somapana, really. So all that, what we are, actually Upanishads is more relevant for us, like that. Same way, most of the things in Bhagavad Gita, that's why he's not giving so much importance for all the Vedic yagnas, right? Yamima, Pushpitam, Vacham, or the circling and like that, recycling. So you can see that.
Thank you,
But
sir.
each school of our acharyas emphasize, right? Shankaracharya emphasized gnana and Madhvacharya, Bhakti, Ramanujacharya, Prapatti, like that. Different different flavors they liked it, and if we follow them, we also follow like that. But all of them, they were all great nonis. Vedanta Deshikar is such a great, knowledgeable person, but he says, I have no knowledge, I'm incapable of knowledge. For me, Sharanagati only is the path. It's more as a, that's the path they chose, like that. But it's doesn't mean it not have Gnana. Obviously, a lot of Gnana. All of them are there. But he gave emphasis for one of them.
Okay, I will take your leave. I have to rush for another meeting.
Anything else, Hari?
No.
Yeah. Okay, I think can stop it here. We exceeded already 10 minutes. Sarve bhavantu sukinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhave. Yato dharmas tata Krishna, yata Krishna tato jayah. Namaste to you all. See you tomorrow. One more day left for this week.